and welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Elias, film critic and creator and host of Behind the Lens. You can also find my interviews, reviews, and columns at various print and online publications around the globe. But every Monday, you can find me right here on Adrenaline Radio at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So welcome to Behind the Lens. We were off last week since I don't know why the station owners decided to take a holiday for the 4th of July, but we are now back with no more holidays until next year, I hope. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, let me check.
Wait a minute. Brian, I want to at least say hello to you. I mean,
Before you told me about holidays. Well, we're not closed Halloween. We have a Monday show Halloween, but there's no reason to close the studio.
No. We celebrate Halloween.
Yeah, I'm gonna come dressed up as the Droog from Clockwork Orange, which I never get to do. So.
Well, now you're gonna get to do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to do that. And then in November we barely miss Thanksgiving, and then we get the day after Christmas on the Monday show for December.
We get what? Christmas is Sunday?
Yeah, Christmas is a Sunday this year.
Oh, good.
The 25th. So we'll be
here for Boxing Day.
Yeah, we'll be here post Christmas.
Yeah,
so,
Boxing Day.
There's no reason.
Minus
illnesses from Brian.
Yes.
I don't think there's any reason why I shouldn't be here.
Well, good. You better be here, my partner in crime.
Yeah, so I'll be here. So it's a weird day that we took off, 4th of July.
Well, in the Elias family, in 60 years of broadcasting, you don't take holiday. There is no such thing as a holiday. But, other people, I get it. I understand. They want to revel. But anyway, we are happy to be here. We have an exciting show for you today. I'm very, very thrilled with my one guest who's going to be calling in live at 11:15. Mitchel Musso. I have watched Mitchel grow up on television. Most of you know him from Hannah Montana. And his character of Oliver. So we are in for a treat. And I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Colin and Karina for making this happen today. It's very exciting, and I know all of Mitchel's fans, they've already been tweeting up a storm about the appearance. So listen, and just remember, guys, you'll be able to get the broadcast. It'll be on iTunes podcast tomorrow, and it should be up sometime later tonight on my website, Movie Shark DeBlore. Plus, it'll be on the AdrenalineRadio.com website as well. So you can listen to Mitchel to your heart's content. And we do a 2-camera video every week with post-production editing, where we insert images and pictures and all kinds of cool stuff. And all of that is done by our trusty editor, Lydia, who defected and moved across the country, so she's not here live.
Hi, Lydia.
And we also have joining us today Greg Caruso, documentary filmmaker with his first feature-length doc, Making the American Man. Very fascinating subject matter that talks about manufacturing in the United States, but specifically the history of manufacturing as it relates to men's clothing and what has transpired in the past, say, 5 to 8 years with menswear, and the fact of you want sustainability and durability of goods as opposed to just off the rack go and it's gone in 30 days because it's fallen apart. So we're going to hear from Greg talking about his documentary, which has some exciting interviews, very insightful interviews with some of these small mom and pop companies in the United States that proudly display the Made in the USA label. So, and we've got a bunch of audio exclusives coming up. My interview with Matt Ross and Captain Fantastic. He's the writer-director. Captain Fantastic is a fantastic movie. And yes, ladies, you get a full frontal of Viggo Mortensen in it. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. Right now, Brian, we are 2 weeks behind now. This is traumatizing.
Oh, you kind of threw me a loop there. I can't follow that breaking news that you just gave about the frontal. Nudity there.
Okay, well, I'll give you more of a setup then. I'll preface it with what's happening on Star Wars, on Lego Star Wars today. The Freemakers, right now airing, if it's not already aired on Disney XD, Luke and Leia make an appearance on that show.
Yeah, I saw a still for it on your website, actually. You posted about it a couple
Yes,
of days ago.
I did.
That's exciting. But staying on the Star Wars subject.
And
Thank
it
for
gave
the
you
setup.
time to catch your breath.
Yeah, to not faint in here. Star Wars Episode 8. Oh, we are so close. 521 days, 12 hours, 54 minutes, and as soon as I'm done speaking this sentence, we should be about 7 seconds closer to the film. But, I was excited to see this one. This one is getting a little bit more closer. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, opens up in theaters around you. 157 days, 12 hours, 53 minutes to go till that one. It's almost as long as waiting for football to come back.
That's less than 6 months.
That is close. And hopefully more stuff starts coming out. Little teases. I mean, the biggest tease that came out a couple weeks, I don't know if we were here to talk. Yeah, we were here to talk about it. Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make an appearance in the film. I got the Entertainment Weekly spread.
On the Rogue One,
Yeah.
which was fabulous. And I don't normally rave about Entertainment Weekly, but that was an excellent spread that they did.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for some great, some new merchandise. I anything Darth Vader, I'm in. Anything Star Wars, I'm buying. And
And of course, you're always down at Disneyland too.
yes, I'm always present at Disneyland because I have my pass.
So you may see things down there before outsiders see them.
Yeah, well, all the people that are there also. Actually, interestingly enough, I was walking, for people who don't know the park layout, they closed down Thunder Ranch, which used to house, petting zoo and an all-you-can-eat barbecue pit. That's all closed, and when you're walking by Splash Mountain, there's a little hill that you go before you descend into where the Winnie the Pooh ride's at. You can see now visible, which kind of, Walt Disney was trying to avoid when he first started Disneyland. Now you can see the parking structure, the Mickey and Friends parking structure from the park itself, but you can also see the construction for Star Wars Land, and that's exciting. It's just a big old hole right now, but that's the foundation, obviously, and hopefully within a couple months you start seeing a little bit more because they can't hide what they're doing because of this little hill. So you can see, I watch people look through the holes to see what's in there. But yeah, you can see everything from one side of the park. So that's exciting. Hopefully that opens
And
up
of
soon.
course, once Star Wars Land opens, we won't see the Mickey and Friends parking structure either.
No, hopefully they cover it up with a tree or something the way they do everything else. Because it
Well-
kind of throws you out for a loop how close
Well,
you
I'm
are.
sure that with Star Wars Land, things will be going up. There will be height, so
Yeah.
it will block.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I can't wait for this to open up. So that's exciting. So speaking of Star Wars, hopefully that opens up by the time Episode 8 comes out. So
Well, no, isn't it supposed to open in 2017?
yeah, what time? Yeah, the same.
The park.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
same
Episode
time
8.
as Episode 8. Yeah.
I'm so excited thinking Rogue One in less than 6 months.
Yeah, no, Rogue One's opening up this year, but no, Episode 8 should. Hopefully they correlate between the park and the release of the film. That'd be fun.
That will just set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And hopefully the stock.
And my wallet.
And your wallet. And your wallet.
And my walking shoes.
Well, speaking of wallets and walking shoes, that's a very good lead-in. Captain Fantastic and Viggo Mortensen and his Full Frontal. Captain Fantastic just opened in theaters on Friday, written and directed by Matt Ross. It is an incredibly well-done movie. One of my favorite features of the movie is the costuming. We'll hear about that a little later in the show. Courtney Hoffman, you may all remember Courtney Hoffman, who did such a fabulous job on The Hateful Eight. And she does the costumes in this film as well. And Matt has nothing but glowing things to say about Courtney's work. And as many of you heard here from my interview with her, she calls herself a treasure hunter when she's putting together costumes and wardrobes for a film. And Captain Fantastic really showcases Courtney's treasure hunting abilities for what she designs. But before and those designs you see on all the movie posters right now, and the trailers, Viggo Mortensen's bright red suit, and then this very eclectic, colorful palette that looks very 60s hippie-esque. That is courtesy of Courtney Hoffman. But let's talk a little bit about Captain Fantastic. It's about a family. They are a survivalist family. They live up in the Pacific Northwest in their very own commune. The mother is ill, and she passes away, and events turn where the father and his 6 children, yeah, I know it sounds like Sound of Music, but they had 7 kids, so they have to make a decision. Do they go and face his in-laws who can't stand him in order to fulfill his deceased wife's wishes and to expose his children to the outside world. Because as the script develops and as the dialogue unfolds, this is the life that the children have always known, that the parents had decided to leave the rat race of society and raise their children in this completely survivalist method, in teepees with growing their own gardens, smoking their own food, catching, hunting, and to watch it all unfold is incredible. So I had to ask Matt, and this is also his directorial debut, about what was the decision, what was his thinking. Did he intend to direct this when he was writing the script?
It didn't come through commercials or videos, music videos, so I always, from the beginning, wrote to direct. I think, there are many people in Los Angeles that make a living as a writer, and in fact, as our business is moving away from original material more and more, and everything has to be based on a toy or a candy bar or whatever before they'll make it, your job frequently as a writer is adapting, and I wanted not to do that if I could, and I wanted to tell my own stories, and I'm glad you have that reaction, because I feel like I've spent a lot of my life writing, and we all get better at what we do the more you do it. You teach yourself by doing, and I spent a lot of time writing, and I've directed a lot of short films and only one other feature, so I feel like my writing and directing skills are not quite in balance. I feel like I've spent more time just hour-wise writing than I have directing, but my intention was always to direct it. Years ago, George Clooney said about something that he was going to do, I don't want anyone else to up on it. And I felt like, well, that's true. You know, it's absolutely right. If I gave it to you to direct, you would make a bunch of mistakes that would be that are your mistakes. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes that will be my mistakes. And I would rather be the one making the mistakes, because we all make mistakes.
It is.
It's interesting to hear that from Matt, because Michael David Lynch has been on the show several times now. In his first ventures, he did everything himself. And he had his own journey going from doing everything himself to collaboration. And that's exactly what Matt expounds upon, is collaborating.
On this particular subject, one of the things that's so challenging about directing a film is that it's a collaborative effort, and that it's a collective. I mean, I made a short film once where there was one other actor in it. No, there was two actors, but mainly one. I wrote it, I photographed it, I did the lighting, I directed it, I did the camera work, I did the sound, I edited it, I did the color correction, my brother did the music. So I did everything, including load the equipment in and out, did the set design, everything. It was a mind-bogglingly difficult endeavor for a short film. And you cannot do everything yourself. You cannot. You need a bunch of craftspeople and artists and artisans to help you. And they have this document that you all decide you're going to do. They've all decided, either for money or for art, they decided they're going to do this. And you all get together, and as a director, you're hopefully hiring people who are better at their job than you would be doing their job, and then they begin to add to the conversation. And so I say, well, I think there should be a lemon in the glass. And you say, well, no, what if it's this, that, or the other? No, that's a better idea than I had. Thank you. And the narrative or the film starts to bend and grow in different ways. So.
And, when Matt was referencing my reaction to the film, my initial reaction to the film was intelligent. That is the first word that came to mind, with the subject matter, with the script, with the dialogue, quickly followed by humor and heart, and culminating in beautiful storytelling on every level. And, as he's saying, collaboration does breed better storytelling. And one of the key collaborators is his cinematographer. And that's a very long clip. So I think, to be safe, Brian, since Mitchell should be calling in momentarily, we're going to take a short break. We'll come back. Hopefully we'll have Mitchell Musso on the line, and then we'll pick up more with Matt Ross and Captain Fantastic later in the show. We'll be right back. And we are back. We're not connected yet. Yes? No? Okay. But before we I bring Mitchell on live, I just want to say that is one great commercial for your podcast, Brian.
Thank you.
Which, yes, at 5 o'clock today, people, you can tune into adrenalineradio.com and you can hear Nothing in Particular podcast with Brian Leone.
Thank you for the plug. And yeah, that commercial's pretty funny to
I
me.
love it. It's great. All right, now, hello, Mitchell Musso.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm like rushing around. I got to be on a plane here in the next couple hours, so
Oh, my
I'm
God.
running around.
Well, I am so thrilled that you could find time to talk to all of us here at Behind the Lens. I know my Twitter feeds have been just lighting up with all of your fans that were so excited you'd be calling in.
Oh, heck yeah. All right.
You have an incredible fan base, Mitchell.
I have an incredible family. You're telling me.
Oh, my God. And
I love them.
they have been with you through everything.
Thick and thin, I know.
Well, and something that they're absolutely going to love seeing. I am in love with CHARACTERZ, your new film.
Oh, really?
Oh, my. It is absolutely charming. There's some
Oh, all right.
There's some goofiness there, but it is
Yeah,
so charming.
sure.
It is a perfect family film for the summer.
Exactly. That was what we were shooting for. Was just fun and summer flick for the family.
I mean, it is, and you as a character of Tucker, so wonderfully portrayed.
Well, I really do appreciate that. You know, it wasn't too difficult finding my character because he just, is a goofy, artsy, creative type who loves amusement parks and wants to develop, roller coasters and I mean, the whole film was shot at amusement parks. It was pretty much fun the whole time. The cast is awesome. My little brother plays one of my best friends. One of my actual best friends, Miles, plays my best friend. I mean, we couldn't have had more fun, and the chemistry just perfect every day on set.
And tell your fans out there what the premise of CHARACTERZ is.
Well, the movie, it's really about Tucker finding himself and trying to make something of his life. And what he really wants to do is develop and design roller coasters and rides, and not just the ride, but the actual, not just the physical, but the emotion behind it. Mm-hmm. That minute and a half, 2 minutes that take you away from the world and connects you with the roller coaster or the ride, or the showmanship. It's not just how many flips I can put into the thing. He really wants to show, tell you a story. Mm-hmm. And it's really just Tucker finding himself. There is a love interest, but it's not really revolved around the love interest. It's revolved around these three boys getting into a little bit of trouble. There's a bad guy. I don't really want to ruin the movie for everybody.
That's it, yeah. We don't do
it's
spoilers.
It's got a great premise.
And, of course, you get to wear a kangaroo suit and be Hoppy the kangaroo.
Oh, my gosh, you're telling me.
I would like to hear, I know actors go to great lengths, and you did a lot of pratfalls and stunts and crazy stuff when you did Hannah Montana. But that is nothing compared to having to be inside a full-body kangaroo suit shooting a film.
No, I mean, absolutely. From the get-go, a lot of my comedy and my chops were developed through physical comedy. And whether that was throwing myself off the beach pier at Rico's shack in Hannah Montana to wearing that chicken suit for Hatching Pete. I mean, I already kind of knew what I signed up for when they told me I was going to be in this costume, and I was fine with that. I thought, yeah, well, I've done that before. It is Florida, and it's outside, so it's obviously going to be really, really hot. But you know what? Miles and Mark have to do it too, so whatever, I'll do it. And it turns out I was pretty good at it. I jumped right in there, and I went into full mascot mode.
Well, I have to say, you are absolutely enchanting as Hoppy the kangaroo. And
thank you.
I have to say it. One of my favorite scenes in the film is when Hoppy meets Graham Edge of the Moody Blues.
Oh yeah, can you believe we got him? How strange! It's so crazy how we got all these people in this film. It was an awesome cast.
Your
right?
cast is great. I mean, you've got the cameo from Graham, but also you've got Ken Osmond, the original bad boy next door.
That's right.
Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver.
Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver.
And how much more wholesome than Leave It to Beaver as a legacy can you get to bring into your film?
I mean, real talk, and also not to mention one of the nicer guys I've ever met.
He's
just a really down-to-earth guy, sweet, spent, all of his time, not a minute away from everybody. Everybody was really about building relationships on this set, and everybody got really close, and that's kind of what I love to do in a movie. You put in all these random people, and it's all awkward, and they develop these relationships, and you create a family, and that's kind of what we do.
Now, were you involved with John in the script process at all? Or
Yeah, I was involved from the very, very beginning. When we started our Kickstarter and our Indiegogo, from the script was a lot was already written, and a lot of the cast was already cast. But I did have reign, and I did have say over things that were said, whether that was lines or the characters, to say, is this guy better for this character? Is this guy, better for Jerry? Which was nice, because John just trusted me. He said, you've been doing this forever. What do you think? And it's just kind of a mutual respect between me and John, and we had a blast, and we worked very well together.
now,
Everything he said I thought was great. Everything I said he thought was great. So it was just a keep moving days.
well, and keep moving is what you've been doing with your career. I mean, you start out very early on. You have a very small part in Secondhand Lions.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can't do much better. You got Michael Caine, Robert Duvall.
Yeah, yeah.
You start with them. You go through. You're on a successful, TV, sitcom, family sitcom for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You've done some movies. You've started transition. You've done a lot of voice work. Your work on Phineas and Ferb is great.
I mean, it's so seasoned from that to Monster House, which was just a huge feature film with produced in Steven Spielberg film, to one of the bigger kids family TV shows, to shooting independent films. I mean, I've done it all, and I love what I do, and I'm so grateful to be able to be seasoned, to try different things, and to keep doing what I love to do, and people love watching what I do. And I mean, I'm just so thankful to God every single day that I'm able to do that. And you guys love it, and that's what this is all for,
Well, and what's so great is, over the years we've seen the train wrecks, we've heard the horror stories about actors when they're acting when they're younger, and the transition when they're trying to move into older roles, more adult roles. You seem to have been one who has made it through the transition sensibly, responsibly, and intelligently, taking each step at a time without all the pitfalls that have...
There was very many moments in my career where I thought, okay, I'm just going to take my clothes off and take a picture and say, here you go, and get some big publicity about it. And I said, you know what? It's not about the conflict. It's not about being in tabloids. That's not what I am. I just love to act. I don't want to be a part of the gossip. I don't want to mess up. I have definitely wrecked a few trains in my life, in my own life. But at the end of the day, you are a child, and you're a teen, and you're a young adult, and you realize your mistakes, and you fix them, and you realize what's more important. And I'm just happy to be where I am right now.
And what are you looking for now in terms of film roles? Do you see yourself continuing to act? Are you trying to look into more adult fare now?
Well, I mean, I know my fans want me to go back to TV, and I love television. I've always loved television. Obviously, love making movies, and being a movie star is awesome. But like I said, when a good part comes, that's when I jump on it. And I come alive. If it's not the right part, I won't come alive. I don't shine like I do when it's something that I genuinely love.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, you genuinely love the part of Tucker in Characters.
Yeah, it was just something that I knew would hit home, and I had shot a horror film and a drama in between my television being on Disney, and I thought, you know what, this is so much closer to home and what I'm used to, and the physical comedy, and it's goofy. And I was like, I'll just take a breather. I'm going to shoot this and just have fun, because that's really what this was about.
Well, you know, if you can't have fun when you go to work, the heck with it.
Oh gosh, yeah, there's no reason.
That's you have to love what you do, and you have to enjoy it. You know,
I agree.
Now, do you see yourself stepping behind the camera?
Yeah, of course I do. Absolutely. But there's still a lot that I have to do, and a lot that I have to learn, because when I do make that move, I want it to be incredible. Because I don't want to touch anything unless I know it's going to be good, and I know that there's great people behind it. So there's still a lot of acting stuff that I want to do and producing stuff that I want to do before I really touch the camera and put something out.
Now, have you started jumping into the producing arena yet?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the last 3 films I've shot, I was a producer on. Not necessarily like I was able to make all these calls, because there's so many people involved in a film.
Yeah.
But obviously there for the meetings and there to see what they were doing, where they were going to sell it, where we were going to launch it, the marketing schemes. I want to learn it all. It's the business that I'm involved in, and I love it. So I obviously want to learn every aspect and everybody's job, because then when I walk on set, I can say, this is wrong, or this is right, you're doing a good job, you're doing a bad job. And that's the goal.
And of course, it will also enable you when you're looking at a script and you see the people that are going to be involved in something. It will allow you to make a more informed decision as to whether you should even take the role.
Sure. Is this going to work? Is this going to be super stressful? Can we shoot all this in one day? I mean, there's just so much that's involved when you're making a film, and scheduling and people, and it's a lot. But like you said, you got to love what you do, because that's why you get up in the morning and go to work.
So now that everybody can watch Characters all summer long, are you working on anything else right now, or is there anything else on your plate that's coming up?
There's a couple things in the mix that I can't really talk about, but yes, I will always be working. This is my business. This is what I do. You couldn't take it from me.
So, before I let you go here, if you had to tell all of your fans out there one reason to go see Characters, what would it be?
One reason to go see Characters.
Mm-hmm. Either in the theater or on demand and Netflix.
You want to know why? Because I miss I miss performing for all of them. I miss showing myself to them, because I have kind of been off the radar the past year or two. And the things I've been working on have taken a long time to put out. So this was really special that tomorrow they're able to see a full-length film of me doing my thing.
Oh, God. Well, Mitchell, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. I hope that you will come back on the show again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and have a good
flight. Tell all the fans I love them, and thank you so much for the support. And I will forever be grateful and forever keep doing my thing.
Oh, you better, or I'm going to come and hunt you down.
Oh, you wouldn't have to.
Thanks so much, Mitchell. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all have fun.
And that was Mitchell Musso. CHARACTERZ tomorrow is available. I think it's on all the VOD Netflix platforms. I'm not 100% sure because nobody gave me that information. But now we are going to change it up here and welcome the wonderful director and producer Greg Caruso. Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am thrilled.
Thank you.
Making the American Man. I had no idea what to expect with this. This is not really your mainstream documentary, shall we say?
No. No, it's not.
What led you to making the American Man?
I think I go to my father and my paternal grandfather, my papa. I think of them as gentlemen, and they carry themselves with pride and respect, whether that's the way they dress or treat people. And I saw a void, I guess, in my own generation, and especially in Los Angeles, of how people presented themselves, but also, I guess, the way they they acted. And I also saw a void of American-made goods. I kept seeing labels with made in China and other countries, and I wanted to explore if this really is coming back. And there were several companies I was interested in, and we started cold calling them, and finally compiled a list of 35 companies or so that we ended up with.
Well, and I found this is something I found very interesting in watching the documentary, is that it seems to go hand in hand as the decline of American clothing manufacturing has been on the increase over the years. So has that idea of what a gentleman is. And when you talk about your grandfather and your father, I think of, and you say the word gentleman, I think of my paternal grandfather, who was one of the most gracious, elegant men I have ever known in my life. With the clothes just so. They didn't have to be new, but you had something that was good. You had it made at a tailor. You had one good shirt. It lasted you 50 years. Right. And manners went hand in hand with that. And when you looking at what you have put together here, I see that correlation, and how maybe in some circles now we may see that hand-holding coming back.
Right. And I really appreciate you saying that, because some people have said, have taken it at face value and said, well, that's kind of shallow that you're putting the way you dress in the same sentence as being a gentleman. But I tend to think that it does matter, and it doesn't take too much, and how you present yourself and taking pride in the way you look is part of being a gentleman. It's not the most important thing, but it's up there. So I appreciate you saying that. Oh,
I mean, and when I stop and think about it, I mean, throughout my life, the same thing is applied. It will affect my attitude for myself. If I put a jacket on, or a blazer, or a leather jacket, in front of a camera or something, I'm going to sit straighter. I'm have more composure and rapport than if I've got on a torn up T-shirt that I got at Target. No offense to Target, we all love Target, but that I know is going to fall apart within 3 to 6 months and land in the dustbin.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean that thread I found particularly intriguing and resonant that you put together.
Yeah, I think it's important, and especially with social media and the lack of human contact these days, and people texting instead of calling people or having face-to-face conversations. I think it's important. We're losing that intimacy with our communities.
But what you also do is you give a beautiful mini history of manufacturing clothing goods in the United States, going back to the early 20th century, when the decline started around the 50s or 60s. And, then you also get in that great expert from USC talking about China and the GDP and durable goods and how undurable they really are. Right. And the cost efficiency. Right. So you bring an economics and history lesson into, your themes here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And we didn't want to pack the documentary with statistics or graphs. We wanted the story to come from actual people and makers and let them tell the story, and that was always important to us in the editing process.
How long was this process, and how did you go about selecting which of those interview subjects from the various American companies you would include?
The documentary took about 2.5 years, probably 2 years of filming, from when I was a senior at USC until last year. And I started the process with a couple store owners I knew, the store owner of a barbershop I went to in LA, and then Union Made, a clothing store based in San Francisco. I started meeting these guys, and through them met other people in this community of American-made makers and manufacturers. And through that, I met a guy named Michael Williams from A Continuous Lean, and he had a list on his website of American makers, and I went through it and filtered it just to my own subjective point of view of who I liked. And we called these people, and whoever we connected with and liked their story, we went and met up with them, and we went around the country, and it was just an incredible experience right after college to travel and meet these people.
What was the reaction when you approached them and said, "Hi, I want to make a documentary, and I want to do it about, you know, the men's clothing and being made in America"?
Right.
You know, I'm sure it probably caught some of them off guard.
I think so. I think some were intrigued. I think some thought it was a student project and didn't know if it would go anywhere, which I understand. But I think others really appreciated it, and for the most part, and that we were getting their stories out there, because it's important, and they're not always told, especially in a narrative and through film. There's a lot of articles and websites, but no one really shows their day-to-day.
Mm-hmm. And you have some incredible footage with so many of these companies, so many of these vendors, of the actual the hand tool process of what they do.
Right, and a lot of that credit goes to our cinematographer, Brandon Summerhalder. Our entire crew is from USC, and we spent hours and hours in these factories shooting B-roll. We probably spent an hour doing each interview, and then would stick around for 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes half a day, picking up shots. So we had a really good, cohesive crew to get all that footage.
Now, did you have your narrative developed when you went into the project, or was
No.
it was developing as you were obtaining footage and interviews?
Definitely. It developed and changed so many times. And our editor, Vic Brown, we actually went through 3 editors before we landed on him. And he really found the narrative in there. We always knew it would be about bringing back American-made goods and I guess having little portraits of each owner. But we didn't necessarily know how the narrative was going to play out and who was going to appear where in the film. Mm-hmm. So our editor helped out a lot with that.
How now were you guys editing as you went, or did you wait until you had assimilated everything to start the editing process?
Yeah, I edited little promos as we went, but we waited until we had all the footage to really put it in like an hour-long narrative and see what we could get.
Yeah, I mean, it moves along at a nice clip, and your timing. Yeah, I was surprised when it ended. I was expecting even more.
I know. That's what some people said. So I guess that's a good thing, but we definitely have a lot of footage.
Well, it's a good thing because then it opens you up for like an hour-and-a-half programming slot on cable somewhere.
Right.
You know, for distribution. Now,
that would be great.
Was there anything surprising that you discovered while in the process of making this, as a director, and also, you know, as somebody who was curious enough about these topics to want to make this documentary?
Yeah, I think what was surprising to me, which I guess I kind of expected, but it hit me in person, was meeting these people who took a risk and had other jobs and said, you know, I want to make this clothing item, or I want to do what I'm passionate about and bring back a durable raincoat or distill wilderness perfumes. And they really took a risk and invested their own money in it. And some of them are still working probably to break even, but they're giving back to their communities, and they're happy and they're passionate, and it's what they love doing. So I think one thing for me was that, you know what, if you really want to do it, you can. You can find ways to do it. You can find people to help you. That really resonated with me. And then as a director, I think I'd go back to what you mentioned. I didn't really have a narrative in place before we set out on the journey, and it was really just opening my mind and allowing myself not to have too much of an opinion. Mm-hmm. And I think some mornings I'd wake up and say, have we got enough? You know, it's starting to wear on me. I don't know if I'm as excited as I was, and then I'd meet a new person and I'd get all motivated again and want to meet more. I think that was the best part of it. We started with 10 companies, and was just going to do a West Coast trip. And we ended with close to 40 and went all around the U.S.
I mean, it's just the variety of individuals that you speak with. And, you know, when people talk about, oh, nothing's made in America, no, there's plenty being made.
Right.
You know,
right.
just because we don't have Bob Hope commercials saying, you know, made in the USA, which we really need those commercials again. But I mean, that was one of the most successful Buy American campaigns ever. Was when he was doing the Made in the USA commercials.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking at some of the people. You know, it's like the companies that you talk to. I found some like the Freeman company, husband and wife. They're that's the raincoat company.
Right.
I mean, their story is just amazing.
Yeah.
The ingenuity that comes out that we see, and the inspiration of you know, just because I wanted my husband to have a decent raincoat and I can't find one in the store.
Right. It's as simple as that.
You know, or shoemakers, and then again, your cinematographer, with some of the imagery that he captures of the individual lacing of, you know, of shoes, and the hand stitching on briefcases. It gives people a better sense of what craftsmanship is all about.
Definitely.
Was there any one company that stood out for you the most? Any one interview?
Mark Williamson, he's the owner of a hat store in Harlem. He was one of my favorite interviews in that it was a unique interview, and he made me excited about doing the documentary about life and about he really I guess he made me feel like it was important what we were doing because of his energy, positive energy, his story. He was just such an interesting person to meet, and especially going to Harlem to sit down with him was special for me because I love jazz and the history of jazz. And a lot of those old clubs have since disappeared since the heyday. And talking to him about the community and why his store's in Harlem was really cool. I really loved that interview.
So now that you've made it through your first featured documentary here, Greg, what is next? Will you continue with documentaries? Will you move into narratives? Or will you just go a totally different way?
I'm going to do one more documentary. We're in post right now for a documentary about 6 kids in Watts in South Central LA who are paired with LAPD officers as their mentors. They look after them, take care of them, mentor them. And we're editing that, and I think it's really important, especially right now.
I was going to say, so timely.
Yeah, it's going to be powerful. But my real passion's in narrative period pieces. So I just wrote a script about 4 best friends in LA, 1959, that go down to Central Avenue, which was the Harlem of the West Coast, to experience a night there. And we're in development for that. So I hope to move to narratives. I kind of just fell into documentaries, but I think it will make me a stronger narrative director.
And do you plan? And you're writing. So the new one coming up, the documentary, you've written that one also.
Yes, we filmed that. I directed that with a lot of the same team. We actually had 5 crews down there following each kid.
Wow.
And the LAPD 12 hours a day for a week. So it's going to be called A Week in Watts, and that will probably be out next year. And then the narrative piece we'll film hopefully at the end of the year, and I'm really excited for that.
Oh my God, you're just plugging along here.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Well, you know, after seeing what you've done with Making the American Man, and the themes that you bring out that stem from your original, you know, genesis of an idea of a gentleman. It's wonderful to see how that process worked and developed. And
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for taking time today, Greg. This has been a real pleasure.
I feel the same way.
And I really hope when you get Weekend Watts, you will come back on the show.
Definitely. We'll stay in touch.
Oh, please. Greg, thank you so much. And everyone can see this on Netflix right now.
It's on Netflix.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye-bye. And that was Greg Caruso, director, producer of Making the American Man, and you can see that on Netflix. And as you heard us say, it is only 61 minutes long, so it's not a whole lot of time. So it's definitely worth a little look-see. And we're going to take a break and come back and hear more from Matt Ross on Captain Fantastic. And welcome back to Behind the Lens. I'm Debbie Elias, my trusty sound engineer cohort in there, Brian Leone. Two wonderful guests so far today. Mitchel Musso, an absolute joy. And again, for all of his fans, he gave you all a very special shout out too. So you'll be able to hear that over and over again once we get the podcast out on iTunes tomorrow, or up online at adrenalineradio.com tonight, or moviesharkdeblore.com tonight. And then Greg Caruso, you can see Making the American Man. It's on Netflix now. Mitchel Musso's movie CHARACTERZ with a Z is available tomorrow on multiple platforms. And that one, it is just tailor-made for the summer. It is great family summer fun. I mean, parents, there's no problem with, having your kids, elementary kids, junior high kids, sitting out by the pool watching this. No profanity. It's, it's very well done, and it is family friendly. And Mitchel's in it, so you can't go wrong. So, let's get back to Captain Fantastic and Matt Ross. And now Greg just made another good point while we were talking to him about his crew and and his friends and people he's working with on Making the American Man that he started with and met at USC. He's now done a second documentary, and many of those same people, he's brought them back with him as collaborators. And as you heard earlier in the show, Matt Ross has expanded from doing everything himself to the beauty and joy of collaboration. And one of those great collaborators on Captain Fantastic is cinematographer Stefan Fontaine. As you watch this unfold, the film starts in the Pacific Northwest, which is vibrant, it's beautiful, it's green, absolutely stunning. And as the family descends from the mountains and travels through the United States down into southern U.S., southern West Coast, we see the lens, the camera lens. Stefan opens it up wider, the palette softens, and we see the kids as if we're experiencing for the same time the wide-eyed wonder of what this country is when you look at it, but also how overwhelming it can be. And it's a very gifted cinematographer that can do that with the lensing and add his own layer of storytelling to the overall film. So I had a chance to I asked Matt about working with Stefan and what they developed.
Stefan and I talked a lot about, I had a list of people I wanted to work with, and I'm a film geek, so I know I can tell you the DPs whose work I love, and Stefan was certainly the top of my list, and I talked to a bunch of different people, and just like not every actor is right for every role for a variety of reasons, and we all like to think we can do anything, but sometimes people are more specific to something. I think that's true for DPs, and what I was looking for was, if you look at Stefan's work, if you look at A Prophet or Rust and Bone,
I was thinking, Rust and Bone.
He has luminous photography, and yet it's also very organic. And sometimes those things are mutually exclusive. We can point to certain filmmakers who make their film the cinematography is very presentational, or it's very the compositional quality of it is very specific, but it's luminous, but it doesn't feel organic. Stefan has both, and he also he has an organic way of working, which is what I would say I work, and I didn't know this going in, but I suspected it based on his work. He's just a great storyteller with his camera. He is a great intuitive storyteller. And if you do something, if you write something on your notebook in a way you never had before, and you just did it one time, and it tells a story about who you are, he won't miss it.
He'll find it.
He'll find it just because he has that. He's so in tune with what you're doing. And so, we talked a great deal about how we wanted to make the movie, and we had ideas, and some of them changed, and many of them changed as we went along. And, I say this about him, and I don't think he'd mind that I really believe that we're all fumbling around in the dark, and it's said of directors a lot, they know exactly what they want. And I always feel like, if you know what you want exactly, then you're propping up a preconceived dead idea of what something could be. And instead, you're bringing all these people, and this is the moment we have to make this thing. Just like this interview, you have some questions, but depending on how I react or what I say leads our interview in one way or the other. It might spark an idea with you.
Which is why I never write a question.
Right, if you had only stuck to your questions, then we'd only ever have what you thought of. But if I say something and you're present and it sparks an idea and you're like, oh, I want to ask that, and then we're having an organic dialogue. And I think filmmaking can be the same thing. Sometimes the photography can't be that. If it's an action sequence, and while you're talking, my hand is slowly going towards the gun that's here, and then that has to be preconceived, right? We need to know that there needs to be a close up of my hand revealing the gun, but then cut to your eyes and you don't see that. Those are things that probably are preconceived, and they're not necessarily something that we find on the fly. But in this kind of filmmaking, I like to be open to what the actors bring, and then I have a shot list, or I have moments that I know that are important for the storytelling. But I like to be elastic, and Stefan likes to work that way too. And I like to, Viggo is doing something that I hadn't thought of, and that's going to change how we're going to photograph him. And so it's an ongoing kind of conversation.
Yeah, because the metaphor through the photography is just absolutely gorgeous.
That's good.
As we're traveling through the country and the lens gets wider, it's softened, but the lens keeps getting wider as the worlds of the children are expanding.
Yeah.
And
and some of that is tweaked slightly with color timing. I mean, Stefan will say things like, now with digital photography, and we talked a lot about shooting on film, and I love film. I'm not as dogmatic about it as some people. I think that they both are mediums and they both have their use. But color timing has become a very powerful tool now with digital cinematography. I didn't want to ever turn off the camera around the kids, and there's a problem with film in that regard because you have to change the mags, and with digital you can shoot, and I kind of wanted to do that. I wanted to capture moments. I wanted to allow the kids to forget they're on camera, and that happened. I mean, there's a moment when Charlie picks his nose. He's not picking his nose because he thinks it's an acting choice. He's picking his nose because he forgot he's on camera. So I'm actually capturing a 7-year-old's organic behavior. So that was one reason. But so the color timing, we like in the supermarket, we color time that so that it's very fluorescent, very bright, very white, and the pop of all the colors, an inorganic environment. And Stefan's making certain adjustments, knowing we're going to do that. But then some of that it happens in post. And we have a great colorist, and that helps.
Well, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, another part of Matt's team that is absolutely great is his costumer, Courtney Hoffman. So, take a listen to what Matt had to say about the costume design of Captain Fantastic.
And then the costume design, I was very open to Courtney's ideas. I met a lot of costume designers, and some of them had great lookbooks. Courtney was the most enthusiastic, and I felt like her take on it was the most creative in many respects. And I loved talking to her about the script and working with her, and she, it changed a little bit. In the beginning, I think that I had written that they had worn more animal skins, and there was a little bit more of a primitive quality that you see when they're hunting, but you don't see so much in the movie. But one of the real things that happens is it's a road trip, so they don't, and it doesn't take over that many days, so they don't have that many costume changes. And
right.
But like the red suit, that was her idea. That wasn't in the script. I think I had a vague idea that he had worn his idea was he was going to wear some vintage suit that he bought for $5, and she thought, well, what if this is the suit that he was married in? What if he was going to wear to the funeral what he married? Well, that's a great idea. And then we photographed that, and we put those photographs around the house. And, all these people are riffing off what you've written, and hopefully they're making it better, and people like Courtney do.
And I know Courtney, she prides herself in being a treasure hunter.
She is.
With thrift shops and...
She did things that, like, when I was editing it, I didn't even realize things that she had done, the detail with which she had done things. Like, some of the younger kids, and I think it's one of the girls, Sammy Isler or Annalise Basso, the twins. One of them is wearing a jacket that says Bodevin, or one of the other ones is wearing, so it's like the idea that was their older brother's jacket that got handed down. Little things like that, and
you can see hand stitching
on
the
absolutely.
clothes.
I mean, the detail is phenomenal, and I actually feel like I did her a disservice insofar as you don't see enough of it, because there's such a richness to her storytelling, and that's really what it is. Actors are storytellers, costume designers are storytellers. We're all showing up to tell the story. You can say storyteller or filmmaker, it's the same thing. We're all showing up to riff on this story, and they are telling stories through their art.
And again, Captain Fantastic is in theaters now. It expands wider this Friday. Before we go, I just have to point out, sitting here, you'll see it on the video, is the fabulous book, The Infiltrator by Robert Mazur. Movie comes out, stars Bryan Cranston. It opens on the 12th. It opens Wednesday. You're going to hear some of my interview with director Brad Furman next week. And we're going to have Dylan Walsh next week. You know him best from Nip Tuck. Dylan is out with a new movie called C Street. He will be here. And Mike Dopod, Virtual Revolution is his big film. And he's got so many other things. We're waiting to see if he's in the country, if he's going to be here, or if he's going to be calling in. But we've got two gorgeous guys as guests next week, so I'm very happy. Until then, I'm Debbie Elias. This is Behind the Lens.